Traditional rulers ask residents to ignore sit-at-home threat by IPOB as INEC vows that beavers will be deactivated if snatched during the poll. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Asukwo James. Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, let's begin with insecurity, whereas Nigeria appears set to defeat the Boko Haram terrorists. It seems it has another one to contend with. The 2023 Global Terrorism Index has listed the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, among the 20 deadliest terror groups in the world. It also says Nigeria has experienced a decline in terror activities, having been ranked the 8th most terrorized country globally in 2022. Now, dropping from its 6th position in 2021, the report placed IPOB in the 10th position among the deadliest terror groups in the world, while Islamic State, operating around Iraq and Syria, was ranked top on the list. Babajide, let's begin with you on this. What's your assessment on what just been reported? How do you see this? How does this affect Nigeria as a polity? Let's start with that.
Yeah, we have to admit that even out of negativity, positivity sometimes spring forth. This Global Terrorism Index report shows clearly that terrorism is on the decline in our country, and that is something to be happy about. You know that the Northeast was the epicenter of terrorism in our country. Boko Haram's brand of terror, with the military making tremendous gains, making real progress, with more and more Boko Haram fighters coming out of their camps to surrender to the armed forces. It is normal for people to expect that the rate of terrorist activities will go down. And this is what the GTI is reflecting. It has gone down in our country. But at the same time, we are seeing IPOB moving, becoming more and more dangerous. Nigeria is now ranked number 8 in the world. We were ranked number 6 in the world last year. For years, we were number 3. Boko Haram, based on Boko Haram activity. So if we are now ranked number 8 in the world, after having occupied the 3rd position for years, it means that real progress is being made.
Recorded.
And no one can hide it. As I always say, look, when I criticize the military, people will say, they will call me names. Sometimes paid agents will be abusing me. But today, if there is nothing to report, will you go and say that Boko Haram attacked an army base? So we have to just tell ourselves that truth is the best. We are seeing progress. No one can hide it. No one can hide it. The truth is, in the Northwest, what we are facing largely in the Northwest is banditry. To them, banditry is not really terror. Yes, we have designated those guys as terrorists, but in terms of their modus operandi, what they set out to achieve, it fits into the definition of banditry and not terrorism. So people can argue that, as we are making progress in the Northeast, there is a scale-up of activities of terrorists in the North Central and Northwest. But by the global definition of terrorism, what is going on in that area simply is banditry. So you can't argue that that is actually terrorism.
Right.
Real terror, you know what real terror is. And that's what ISIS carries out in Iraq and Syria. And that is what Boko Haram too began to do, and they've done largely. They are not even interested in any peace. To take people's lives, they have their ideology, and they stick to it.
Well, don't you see this affecting Nigeria's effort in combating terrorism with this listing of IPOB as number 10 in the position?
No, that is to encourage us to work harder at exterminating them, because they are reporting that the year 2022 was their biggest year. That year, they carried out 40 attacks and killed 57 persons. Some of these attacks are never reported. So it's possible that they even killed more people than this. 2021, 26 attacks, 34 deaths. Their attacks are largely on the armed forces, the police, the army. Those are the people that they attack. And it is terrorism in the real sense, because you get to the checkpoint, you do not ask questions, you just open fire on people. You are not out to steal from them. That's not what 2G. 2G is not interested in simply killing people. 2G is largely interested in making money. So this is the thing, I think. In all of this,
more or less, for part of the government. It's a call to action, more or less.
Yes, to deal with the the expanding threat, the expanding threat from the southeast, which is represented by IPOB.
Okay, Sukwa, let's have your thoughts on this now. With IPOB being listed as a terrorist group, how do you think this will affect their activities, especially in their fight for Biafra independence?
Well, it's their own. If it's going to affect their clamor for, for them to have their own country or state or whatever, I'm not sure it's going to affect them in any way. Why? Because they will continue, the agitation. Don't forget, particularly the agitation was more about based on the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu, who has been standing trial for terrorism charges, even though the court has even freed him, but he was arrested again and taken back to, to prison. So they will continue. It's just like Jide said, it's just the fact is that they attack more on military formation. And, they became very wild in 2016 when the military started their action using Operation Python Dance, to try and quell them. So they became very angry, and that was when you started seeing them attacking and police stations, and after police stations, military checkpoints. Security outfits. And then they even went as far as even going to prisons, correctional centers, to try and attack those places until they graduated into INEC offices. So the agitation will not just end like that. People are thinking maybe after the election, things will normalize. Though we've not had any attacks since the election started, the campaigns and all that. We've not really heard about the attacks on all these checkpoints or police station or INEC offices. Perhaps maybe the security officials have been able to quell the situation, get more boots on ground, to try and see how they can stop them. Because right from day one, we've been here, I know here on Journalist Hangout, we've been saying that it's either the government would find a solution, but the major solution has to come from even the people themselves, whereby the traditional rulers will talk to, the people who are involved in it. Because some of these people are people that they know, We see videos of them even moving around in the streets, and they were hailing them recently before they started the vicious attack in 2016 and 2017. And afterwards, you started seeing where they hailed them on the streets. So meaning that there are people that you and I will know, So for now, the attacks have gone down. But now the major problem now is that the global terrorism index, they've entered into the Guinness Book of Record, because once you enter into the GTI, it means that you are doing something that is wrong. But the joy in this GTI's report is that in terms of terrorism, Nigeria has dropped. There's something that the federal government is doing that is good. Right. and they just have to continue with it.
Sustain that progress.
For the IPOB, they have to do more. In that is either their clamor is being looked into, it's either they give Nnamdi Kanu freedom and see if it will end their so-called agitation completely, so that we know that IPOB is removed from this global terrorism index completely, or they find another way for them to end. But it's good that this is happening, so the federal government will have to go back to the table and begin to look at ways they can quell the crisis in the Southeast, because the sit at home, people are still sitting at home on Monday. You might not know that they are there, but the fear of the unknown is just there. They might not be attacking, but on Mondays, people still sit at home. Because I know that in the Southeast, there was a time that even they had to move schools because they were sitting at home on Monday to weekends. But I know that now they've started going back and say, okay, no more weekend, schools. They try to find a way to, accommodate.
Right.
So I know with time, IPOB will find his own way. From 10th position, they might not even be there anymore. So it's just for the government to just find a way, a permanent solution to
issue,
it.
Yes.
And address.
So, Babajide, with what we understand, clearly some of these terrorist activities have been linked to, some have said poverty, lack of economic opportunities, and all of that. So, but what do you think the government needs to do to address these underlying issues? What can the government do if this is what is fueling what we have on ground in our polity?
I think that for the terrorist groups that are not likely to negotiate, the government should sustain the military campaign. I believe that Boko Haram, for example, can be defeated. It may take time, but Boko Haram can be defeated. Boko Haram is a lot weaker than it used to be, and the kind of daring attacks they used to launch on military formations, they've lost the capacity to launch those attacks. In the past, they will attack even a super camp, Nigerian Army super camp, dislodge the soldiers there and steal their weapons. It's been a long time since they carried out such attacks. Imagine Boko Haram stealing MRAPs, mine resistance vehicles from the army. And each of those vehicles cost in excess of 400 million naira. So if you steal such a vehicle or you set it ablaze, it's a lot of money lost. So, but now they are unable to carry out such attacks because Tucano precision jets are really raining bombs on them with the kind of accuracy that we lacked in the past year. So I'm confident that we can defeat them. In the Northwest too, I'm confident that we can still defeat these guys. I know that some of them too have relocated to the North Central, Abuja, Lokoja, Kogi, especially the boundary between Kogi and the FCT, that's Abaji. We have a good number of them there, and the boundary between Kogi and Nasarawa State, a good number of those terrorist groups have settled there. We need to move in, deploy the right resources, the right number of surface troops and the Air Force to exterminate them. Because the Yoruba say, so if you say your mama no go sleep, if the baby says the mama no go sleep, the baby says no go still sleep. So if they don't want us to have peace, then we should serve them the kind of justice that they deserve.
Yeah, but in as much as this might be a fast approach to ensure that we have this solution at our feet, but wouldn't you agree, perhaps, that the government needs to look inwards in terms of social development so that people can have things to do? Because when they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Yes,
so when you do not provide for the needs of the individuals of society, they will find ways of being engaged
before you complete the question, I know where you are headed. There's a writer that said an idle hand is the devil's bolster. There are many parts of our country where people have not seen the effect of government.
Right.
People are so poor that some have not seen a 1,000 naira note before. And these are the kind of people that are vulnerable to being brainwashed and used by Boko Haram fighters, especially. Even in the Northwest, people are volunteering to work for Bello Tuji and other bandits. They tell them that, look, if you join us, you will make money, your life will be better, you can be like us and the rest. So, government presence has to be taken to the nooks and crannies of our country where people can feel the effect of government, where problems can be solved and all that. That way, Boko Haram will be denied their recruiting source. I remember in 2016, January 2016, when I went to Adamawa State, I discovered that Boko Haram was giving soft loans to young people. And after the soft loans, once they are unable to pay back, they are conscripted into the Boko Haram army. When I first said that thing on air, some people thought I was crazy that, oh, Jide has come with his stories again. But the army spokesperson confirmed it about a month later and began that they warned parents that they should be careful of the movement of their children and all that. So these things happen. Did we not see videos and pictures of ISWAP around the islands of Lake Chad, distributing rice and even cash to people? You know, even during this Emefiele cash confiscation policy,
we're holding the
on the highway, Boko Haram was distributing cash to people. They say, okay, if Emefiele is inflicting pain on you, and some journalists who do not know their left from their right are standing by him, we know that you are going through pain. This is money. Take. Can you imagine Boko Haram or ISWAP becoming like politicians who give empowerment to people? So in such a situation, don't you know that some people want to join them?
Yeah, it can be advertising.
What they are trying to do is, see, government has forgotten you. They don't like you. We are the alternatives to the government. If you agree to do things our way, we will not hurt you. And any community that they occupy, that's what they do. They allow you to go into your farm, access your farm, allow you to do your fishing, but you pay tax. It is when you fail to pay that tax that you and them will enter the same trouser. So government has to move in.
Right.
When you move in, so that you deny them this access to recruits.
Right. All right, let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. We will have more discussions after this. Stay with us.
Nation International presents 4 days of power-packed program tagged Harvest of Babies 2023. Date Wednesday 29th of March to Sunday 2nd of April 2023. Wednesday 29th of March, time 5 p.m. Thursday 30th of March, time 7 a.m. Friday 31st March, International Night of Prophecy and Solution, time 8 p.m. till dawn. Sunday 2nd of April, Anointing and Celebration Service, time 7 a.m. Venue, Grace Nation International Headquarters, Ojodu Bega, Lagos, Nigeria. Ministering Dr. Chris Okafor. Come and experience power and mighty move of God. For inquiries, please call +234 80 327 29060. Jesus is Lord.
After a fruitful Ramadan day, replenish your body with the right nutrients. Make this your best Ramadan yet. Ramadan Kareem from Hollandia Dairy and Chivita Fruit Juice.
Well, it's easy to criticize the Independent National Electoral Commission for its conduct of the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections without considering what it faced. Now, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, said a total of 12.9 million cyber attacks were blocked, which originated within and outside Nigeria during the polls. In a statement, the ministry said in a run-up to the 2023 elections, there were astronomical increase in cyber threats to the country's cyberspace. Asuko, let's begin with you on this. What's your reaction to this latest development, and how do you see this affecting this upcoming elections that we're going in just tomorrow?
Yeah, the thing is, it's a new dangerous trend, that has crept into our democracy. I know that people used to say Oyubo that made the pencil, they are the ones that also created the eraser, and for us, anytime a new law, I know that anytime a new electoral act is being, signed into law, politicians will always find ways in which they will circumvent the whole thing and try to, win elections at all costs. And this is one of it. Because I know they have tried several times. People have been talking about uploading of results and beavers not working and beavers. I want to say for here that the beavers in this last presidential election worked perfectly well. And I don't know that nobody will come here and tell us that beavers did not work. Beavers worked very well. Yes, in time to transmit the results immediately might be the only fault for this election. Logistics also, but we cannot discountenance the fact that there's an improvement in our election, on the election process. People have been trying, just like the minister said, they've been trying to hack into the system, either IREV or the INEC system, anyone. They tried it before. You remember during the last election, when I think it was Atiku Abubakar and the PDP who were saying something about server. INEC collected billions of naira, knowing that people will try to hack into their server. And so if the Minister of Communication comes and tells you that about 12 million, they had 12.9 million attacks or thereabout, we should all be worried because we are talking about our democracy here. And we are the ones that are clamoring that, let's stop doing, we should go to electronic voting.
Right.
So if we now go to electronic voting and then our whole process is being attacked by people, then how are we going to know if the process is even
credible?
Credible.
Right.
So we should all be worried. It's not something that we'll now sit down, fold our hands and say, the minister was not right. Everybody should be worried, because if we want to move our electoral process, from where we are today into the electronic process that everybody is clamoring for, and then we are having cyber attacks. We know that there is that's why we keep saying that there is no process, especially when it comes to this kind of technology, that cannot be tampered with. There is no process. Even the Americans, they will tell you that they have hackers. They have people who are hackers. They will hack for you, and there's nothing you can do. Even your phone, they will hack it. So when we keep saying that we want electronic voting,
they won't even release it.
They won't
pay money.
No, until you pay. There are some people that, do you know that people can use your name, do a domain name, and at the end of the day, they will tell you, if you try to use that, they will tell you, come and pay. Your own name.
Because they will even deny you
access.
Yes.
Something
that belongs to you.
Yes. So people who have even, what is it called, Instagram and co, ask them, there are so many people like that. They've come.
Even the CBN.
Yes, recently. They remove people's money. When you hear people shouting, they've deducted my money. How did it happen? It's not only about hiding your PIN. Somebody somewhere is sitting there in his house, and the only thing he's thinking is how to steal.
Yeah, so but if we're having this challenge, Asuko, how can we deal with it? If we're talking about moving from manual, electronic, and manual style of elections to electronic, if we're to move from the way we've been doing things before.
Can't move totally
we can't move completely. Even India, that they have billions of voters.
Yes, it's still manual and electronic.
Yes, electronic. There will be some parts that will be electronic.
It's still manual and electronic.
At least in the US, we saw when they were saying, let them do a recount. The recounting was in heaps of ballot papers.
They did recount, no?
It was heap of ballot papers.
Yeah, 2000.
Yes. So
before George W. Bush defeated Al Gore, they had to do manual
recounting.
And what led to manual recounting is this same glitches that we are talking about. They had a problem. So the court now ruled that they should do manual recount. And they were doing manual recounts until the day. You know, there's a time ceiling during which a winner must emerge.
Yes.
Once it got to that day, the person who was leading had to be declared. But they still had a lot of ballots uncounted. So George W. Bush was ahead, slightly ahead, but they proclaimed him winner. Because their system is you can't be declared winner unless you have a majority of the electoral college votes. So he was ahead on the electoral college count. But Al Gore was ahead
on the popular
vote by a hefty margin. But he still, so Florida was now the what was it called, the
I think
something that you needed to win. Because it's like when you are running neck and neck, and now one of you, whoever takes that Florida will be the winner. George W. Bush took Florida, and that was it. Despite the fact that he was way behind in the electoral college, in the popular vote count. So America, even India, the biggest democracy in the world, they still do both electronic and manual balloting. Let people not tell us that, you said you are going to migrate from electronic to this. No, they still do manual as well as electronic.
So how can we ensure credible, free and fair elections, if that is the case?
See, we are moving there. One of the ways by which people were rigging elections in our country was by bringing people who were not registered. They even bring them from different states. They will come and vote. Politicians will hire them. They will connive with INEC officials. They will not even ask for their PVC or anything. They take incident, they give them incident form. They fill. Those were the days when you hear 1 point something million from one state, this and that. I told someone before, I said, the day we begin to use the card reader faithfully, that you will not see all these millions. You know why I said so? In 2019, I looked at the election in Sokoto, the governorship election in Sokoto, and the presidential election. The INEC rec in that state, the certain Sadiq from Kaduna State, the most stubborn INEC rec that I've ever seen. He refused to allow election to take place without card reader. If you don't use card reader, he cancels the election. That is what the INEC rule book says. But some cowardly INEC officials will not follow the rule book. Even where there is violence, some of them will even return results from those places. But with Sadiq, without using a card reader, he will not allow the result to stand. So in the end, we saw something like 300 and something to maybe 500 and something to 200 and something.
Let's imagine.
Yes. And see what happened in this election too. States where we used to hear 1.7 million, this and that, they are struggling to do 250,000. That's because of beavers. Beavers will authenticate
The actual.
your biometrics,
Right.
your facials and everything. Is it you? Oh, this is not Esther. This is Esther's look-alike. You cannot vote. You cannot vote. And where the Electoral Act has also strengthened the process. Forget the noise that some people are making, trying to make this look like the baddest election ever. They know in their hearts that they are being mischievous. They are liars. Anyone who says this is the worst election in our history does not fear God. That person is dishonest, true and true. Beavers ensure that you cannot return election from any polling unit that exceeds the number of accredited voters.
Yes.
Which is overvoting.
If you know how many polling units have their results cancelled in this election.
Overvoting.
Because of overvoting. Once the INEC chairman asks them, why
What
did
is the
you
reason?
cancel? They will say overvoting.
Overvoting.
Because our people still have not changed. They want to rig by all means. They want to carry people come and vote without accreditation. And at the end of the day,
Does nullify.
the council, because the Beavers record will show that the number of accredited voters had been exceeded. And once the number is exceeded, they have to cancel that polling center. So it happened a lot in this election. And for me, I'm happy. It teaches the politicians that lesson that, look, you cannot just rig election the way you used to do. Things have changed. I was talking about a governor that I was speaking with on the phone, and he was discussing with his own people. And he kept saying, you know, this is the era of beavers, so tell them to work hard, go to all those places, so all those, he was begging. This is the time to beg
Yes,
now.
they are begging. Politicians
They are the ones
begging
begging now.
Yes.
Those who are not going to certain places to interface
yes.
with business people,
They have started.
they've started going there, doing selfies in a market, doing this. What they didn't do before, because they know that people's votes are beginning to count.
Right.
Look at what our friend Alwa Hassan said. He said, did you hear of any protest in the north?
No protest.
That in the north, if you tamper with our votes, we start burning tire straight away. But nobody, not one of all of those states in the north, 19 states.
No protest.
No protest. Because they know that the result reflected
The true will.
the wish of our people. And they are in the majority, whether we like it or not, they are the majority. So if those people there didn't think that this election was rigged, if there are infractions in a few places, you can't magnify those few places and make it look like that was the norm everywhere.
Exactly.
Because even you, if you try to do that, then your own victory in your own little cocoon will be imperiled.
Yes.
People will ask, are you now arguing that it is only where you lost election that rigging took place? No, we should have outgrown that.
Right. So, Asukwa, with that being said, let's look at the issue where it was also stated by the economic minister that these cyber attacks originated within and outside Nigeria. It might be worrying to hear that this comes out not just in Nigeria, but also outside Nigeria. But what can be done to protect our cyberspace so that we can go into these elections without having any fear of any attack whatsoever from the outside community?
Esther, it's good that he's the Minister of Communication that is saying this, So it means that it's not just sitting idly by, waiting for it to happen, And I know that INEC envisaged that something like similar will happen, and they had budgeted a lot of money for it. For cyber attacks and all that. So for the minister, he has to do a lot more. It's not just about, sitting down and then talking. They said they've tried in that at least from the IREF that we saw, that all the results that they posted, nobody has come and said, in my unit, so-so person scored so-so number, and in IREF is different.
That's the essence of the
so we've not really seen, things like that. meaning that they've been able to protect the IRF to a level.
There was even one guy that claimed that the results on IRF were different.
Did he show it?
So he said, we can rig this and that. The results were different. In the end, people discovered that he did it to attract people to his YouTube. So it's just our people, because that one too is still cyber criminality.
Exactly. So,
if you create a YouTube page, a YouTube channel, with the intention of deceiving Nigerians,
right.
Drawing traffic
to yourself,
whereas what you put there is fake news. It's still cyber criminality, and these are the things that we should
address. So we should look at finding perhaps a way of tackling this issue so that we can have a protected.
So I think that is where the minister will have to go further.
I think he was even saying that they set up a committee.
So they can go further to mitigate fake news and misinformation and disinformation. I think that is where the level they should start going.
They need to strengthen our capacity to deal with those threats.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the threats won't stop.
Yeah, because the fake news thing is even worse than even the election itself, trying to attack. Because when somebody posts a fake result or fake information, it goes viral immediately.
And it can lead people to violence.
Exactly.
Right, let's quickly move on to our next discussion, where in a few hours, Nigeria will go to the polls, the second phase of the 2023 elections, and there are concerns about peaceful conduct of the polls in some parts of the country. The Southeast Council of Traditional Rulers has urged residents of the zone to ignore sit-at-home threats by the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and massively go out to vote for their preferred candidates. In a communique issued at the end of a meeting in Enugu, the traditional rulers stressed the need for peace and security in the zone, particularly during the elections. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has vowed that the bimodal voter accreditation system will be deactivated if snatched during the elections. Jide, it's a good development, for us to hear that INEC is ready to do what it needs to do if BVAS is snatched during the polls. It will be the elections will be. BVAS will be deactivated. But let's look at the Southeast right now. Traditional rulers asking residents to go out and vote and ignore the sit-at-home order. Do you think the residents in the Southeast would perhaps, although we saw some of them coming out, trooping out during the presidential elections, ignoring whatever threats that might have risen from one Simon Ekpa from Finland?
I don't think anybody will listen to Simon Ekpa of a guy.
Yeah. So, but do you think
he did not even do it with moderation? Okay, let's talk about sit-at-home. Sit-at-home was instituted by IPOB. IPOB, they said, okay, we will no longer do it every Monday. We will now enforce it only on the days when Nnamdi Kanu
appears in court.
So all of those, the enforcement of sit-at-home on Mondays, as far as the people who came up with the idea are concerned, the enforcement is illegal. I know that cultists never do well, criminals, they've hijacked the struggle. They are the ones visiting terror on people who dare to come out on those days. That is not. IPOB has said and made it clear, no, sit-at-home would only be on the days when they are bringing Kanu to court. Yes, they could bring Kanu to court like 2 times in 3 days. We've seen it happen. That's also bad enough because on those days, this is a standstill. But IPOB has said sit-at-home every Monday is no longer going to happen. But those guys are not listening to them. Now Simon Ekpa has even done it without any sense of moderation. He listed the whole week.
The 1 week.
You are saying, in some cases, they don't even talk of sit-at-home. He said curfew.
That is 6 to 6.
How can an individual be imposing curfew
Oh my God.
In a region.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, okay.
6 to 6, you have no moving now.
No movement. No, this. What sort of rubbish is that? So IPOB then came out to say, no, we do not want anything to interfere with these elections.
Yeah.
We have no plan to disrupt elections. Go and vote. And I'm happy, at least everyone knows him more powerful as the spokesperson of IPOB. He's been their spokesperson for some time. So he came out and said, we are not interfering with the election. People should go and vote. And he said the same thing before the governorship election last year. And people went and voted. So now that they've said that, I'm convinced that our people in the Southeast have nothing to fear. They can go and vote. And if we are to judge by what happened
2 weeks ago.
yes, the elections were peaceful in the Southeast. You know, people went, exercised their franchise.
Well, except in some areas, though. That is in Imo, I think. There was a little bit of light voting area participation, even in Ihiala, in some Anambra State.
Ihiala, Osu,
Yeah.
you know, and some parts of
State.
Olu, Olu in Imo State. You know, the boundary between Imo and Anambra. Those are very dangerous places.
Exactly.
So, but talking, I mean, based on the law of averages, election in the Southeast was peaceful. How many places did we record violence and all that? People voted for their choice, and their choice prevailed. So that is the point that I'm making. And people, they didn't disrupt. It's significant that, nobody stopped people from voting. So this time around, I'm sure that our people are safe.
Part,
And since we've even deployed sufficient security people, we should not be afraid of anyone who wants to disrupt the election. One guy who tried to snatch ballot box, I think in Kogi, was gunned down.
Yeah.
That's justice. Immediate justice served to an enemy of the state. So I think our people have no reason to fear.
Be afraid.
And there was a new trend that we discovered this last phase of the election. We have beavers machines were targeted.
Yes.
They are not snatching ballot boxes anymore.
Yeah,
It's
it was
beavers
beaver.
machines that are targeted. So now we've heard
INEC
from
has said
INEC
it
that
will be deactivated.
even if they snatch it, it's not going to be useful. God will deactivate what has been snatched, and they will be able to conduct fresh election in those places if they wish. So I want INEC to continue along the path of ensuring that violent people do not prevail in our elections.
Right. So, Asukwo, what's your position on this? Do you think perhaps we might likely record massive turnout in the Southeast, taking a cue of what we saw in the 2 weeks ago, the presidential election?
I think the turnout will still be what we saw 3 weeks ago. You know, one thing you should know is, even if we have just like we had close to 93 million registered voters, you don't expect that you are going to see 93 million voters. It's not possible. You know, rather the numbers will keep coming down. You know, so for the Southeast, we know so many people. For the governorship election, we might see a lot of people coming out, because I can see a lot of enthusiasm around the country but in trying to make sure that they vote their own candidate.
Count,
So in the Southeast, it's the same thing across, because from the feelers I'm getting, we might have a large turnout of people in the Southeast. Thank God that IPOB have issued this statement. You know, people can go out. Traditional rulers are even telling people to come out. They shouldn't be sit at home. Whether it's Monday or nobody is taking Nnamdi Kanu to court. So
Simon Ekpa doesn't have that.
He doesn't have the
doesn't have that clout.
No, he doesn't. You know, even though he gave a long list of 23rd, 24th to 28th that people should not go out. I was wondering, how will people feed
If they don't go out.
when they don't
And
go out?
where he is, he's able to move around.
Yes, he's moving around, enjoying free AC. You know,
And he's telling people not to move around.
exactly.
You know? It's taking away people's right to
Right of movement. You know, so. But in the Southeast, I know the turnout will be more. You know, I'm just very, very careful and particular about some areas. I know during the presidential areas, Ihiala, Olu,
Yeah.
Osu, and Enugu, I think Enugu West also. Particularly,
So there should be more security.
Yes, in those
outfits
areas, especially Ihiala.
Okay.
I know of. I've been in Ihiala and also for Olu for a very long time, although I served in Olu. So I have gone to Ihiala several times. And I know how
volatile it
tense
can be sometimes.
That place can be.
Let me hold your thoughts. We need to go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. We'll have more discussions after this timeout. Stay with us.
After a fruitful Ramadan day, replenish your body with the right nutrients. Make this your best Ramadan yet. Ramadan Kareem from Hollandia Dairy and Chivita Fruit Juice.
Since I joined this program don't help me. They carry the money, give me. I take join with the money, carry go market. As you see now, my market now come be fine past before. These are asusu that we made. The money now come big pass. I take buy this thing, I feed buy what I am now, buy carry plantain. Before now only gari where I they sell. But now I don't buy what I am at. Buy potatoes, cocoyam, and thank federal government. Then may God bless you now. Up, the child don't come.
Never.
We are still on to Journalist Hangout, and we're discussing the issue pertaining to the elections, particularly as the Southeast Council of Traditional Rulers has urged residents in the Southeast to ignore sit-at-home threats by the indigenous people of Biafra and go out massively to vote for their preferred candidates. So, BKO, let's quickly wrap up this discussion. With this being said so far, that, with the anticipation generally that the people will come out and vote, and also INEC saying that it will deactivate beavers if it is being snatched during the elections. Let's juxtapose the two together. If anything were to happen, well, people come out and vote and then the beavers is being snatched, yes, we have a good one there, but how do you think security can be guaranteed now for residents in the Southeast who actually want to exercise their franchise and not be deterred by whatsoever news or ill comings that they may find in their way?
There are a number of factors that guarantee good turnout at elections. One is the credibility of the electoral umpire. If people are convinced that their votes will count, you see then they will come out. If they are not convinced, they will stay away because they would rather do something more productive with their time. I think that given the way the elections went in the Southeast, for example, the people who won were the people that the Southeast people wanted to see win. Without mentioning names and parties, we all know as current people how the elections went in the Southeast. The elections reflected the wish, the overall wish of the people of the Southeast. I think that in itself can even encourage the people to come out more to vote this time, knowing that the balloting went just the way they wanted it in the last election. There's nothing more reassuring than that. But if you turned out, you lined up, people stayed in the sun and the rain, they voted, and the results were changed. And from polling unit to polling unit, the way they used to rig election in those days, they go and change it at the local government collation center, People will not want to come out because they don't want to be involved in a fruitless exercise. Secondly, mobilization. That is the job of party leaders. Party leaders must ensure that they have volunteers from within their party who will go out and get people to come out on election day.
Right.
When you are able to mobilize people in large numbers to come out, you are guaranteed of
Safety.
not just victory, but an impressive turnout. When the people are not mobilized in any way, when the foot soldiers are not mobilized, and it happened, I learned that it happened even here in Lagos. Many people just stayed away because party leaders refused to mobilize people. Even in some places, party agents party agents were not paid.
Cash crunch.
So they were naturally dispirited. A good number of them didn't come out. So if party leaders and the foot soldiers who work for the party, all those top parties, the big parties, if they mobilize very well on election day, you see the result. The outcome will be impressive. I know that in most cases, the presidential election usually draws the greater crowd.
Yeah.
You know, but politics is local, where the stakes are very high. Don't tell me, for example, that in Kano, that there won't be high turnout for the government. The stakes are high.
Yes.
The two top parties are desperate to win. They know what is in it for them. So they would mobilize people. And I'm sure that the turnout will be impressive. I'm expecting, for example, that in Lagos, the turnout will be impressive this time. I'll be shocked if the turnout is not impressive this time, because I know those who stayed away, who didn't try to help their party, who are now singing a different tune.
Yes.
You know, they've reached out to them. The mistakes that were made are being corrected, and we could see a higher turnout in the governorship election than the presidential. That is, if other parties
Do their homework.
yes, do their job of mobilizing, whether in the US or anywhere, you need that effort. Get to knock on people's doors.
To get people to
Tell
come
them
out
to come
and take
out
part in the
because
elections.
on election day, you just find that people will be lazy. They will just be lounging in their houses. They don't want to come out. I watch it on TV. TVC is showing it like
Exactly.
You know, they are analyzing the
The elections as usual. But Asuko, what's your final take on this matter? How do you think we can ensure full participation of voters, particularly in the Southeast?
I think political parties will just have to do their work, you know, because I noticed that some political parties were just sitting down thinking that the social media will do the work for them,
Right.
you know. And then there were so many people who were just very angry with their parties and they decided to sit at home. But across, you know, just like Vicky said, politics is local. When it comes to governorship election, it is local. So everybody, from all the states that I've seen, they have all gone everywhere. They are mobilizing their agents, party leaders are all talking to who is who, and it's going down. They are trickling it down, not just to only their members, even to market women, youths, you know, people living with disabilities. So all those people, they have reached out to them that this time, don't just sit down. We want you to come. And if you want us to come and knock, I'm very sure there will be some places, my reporters, you know, there will be some places they will be ringing bell for people to come out, to come and vote in this election, because it's very critical.
The stakes are high.
It's not like the presidential election,
Right.
you know, that is national, but this is
The
local.
local elections.
So, and it's going to affect them one way or the other, because it's not just the governor, they also have the states, House of
Yes,
House of
Assembly.
Assembly as well.
You know, so those are the people that will be making laws.
The governors who are scared that they
Yeah.
could be impeached.
Exactly.
You expect a higher level of mobilization
Mobilization.
from their end.